Hello, this is the first installment of discussion topics to be presented throughout the semester. I'm Jason Lewis, a graduate student in the GSEN program here at Texas A&M Corpus Christi. Today's topic is the Cathedral and the Bazaar, Musings on Linux and Open Source by an Accidental Revolutionary, written by Eric Raymond. The paper was first presented in May 1997 and first published as part of the book in 1999. What you see on the screen is a logo for Ubuntu, the operating system we are using in the virtual machine for this course. The penguin sitting in the middle of the screen is a symbol for Linux, of which Ubuntu is just one. There are 4 main points that I'm going to be bringing up in this. There will be 5 discussion questions at the end, and we're going to have 1 week to discuss this, and then we'll move on to the next topic. First point of discussion, there are 2 ways of managing a hacking project. The first is a Cathedral. This is a top-down controlled approach. Everything is handled in-house with just a very few developers. Releasing a finished product only when kinks are worked out. And these are only released occasionally when you have a real finished product. The second way of managing a hacking project is the Bazaar. The Bazaar is noted for being open, wide-ranging. It has multiple releases that are handled in quick succession, used for feedback from users and other hackers. There are tasks delegated to others, and everyone contributes to the final product. So unlike the Cathedral, which is very controlled and everything is done by very few people, the Bazaar is more open, and it's the absolute opposite of the Cathedral. The second big point was how you treat your users. You should treat your users as the most important resource because it turns them into the most important resource. Developers contribute to writing a piece of the final product. You use them as in debugging, both users and developers. One of the quotes from the text was, "Given enough eyeballs, all bugs are shallow." If you have enough people looking at it, someone is going to have an idea and be able to figure it out, or maybe several people together. And the last part of this is code improvement. Great deal of work was still handled by you. You have to organize the project. You have to make decisions about the software, and you're incorporating pieces worked on by others. And so that in that grand scheme, there's still quite a bit to be done by you. The next point is good ideas from your users can be a great contribution. You want to make sure to implement good ideas in future releases. You're going to release early, release often. You're going to have a lot of development releases. The third major point is project development. Necessity is the mother of invention. One of the quotes from the book was, "Every good work of software starts by scratching a developer's personal itch." Ideas usually come from a need that the hacker has. If you have the right attitude, interesting problems will find you. This point refers back to listening to developers and their end users and allowing them to contribute. If you are open to others being able to help you, then you will get some really great ideas. Good coders know how to reuse. Look around for previous effort and start from there. Don't be afraid to discard. Sometimes it's the only way to move forward. His quote was, "Plan to throw one away, you will anyhow." A good tool can be used in an anticipated way, but a great tool can be used in ways unforeseen. Perfection in design is achieved not when there is nothing more to add, but rather when there is nothing more to take away. And then the last part of this is if you lose interest in a program, your very last duty is to hand it off to a successor. The last major point from this work is Brooks' Law. Adding more programmers to a late project makes it later. Brooks and this concept was the basis for the Cathedral. This work first came out in 1974, and for decades it became the gold standard, the best way to handle projects in general. And the reason this worked was it supported a streamlined approach, which at the time worked very, very well. Communications would become difficult. It would make the project unnecessarily more complex. Then it would simply bog down and get slower and slower. The last quote I have on here comes from Brooks. Total cost of maintaining a widely used program is typically 40% or more of the cost of developing it. Surprisingly, this cost is strongly affected by the number of users. More users find more bugs. I thought this was very interesting because this actually supports the Bazaar thesis in terms of the users finding bugs and working them through. For Brooks, this was a negative. When the new model appears, this becomes a major positive. So these are the four different sections that were important in this book. Next, we're going to look at the five questions that we'll be discussing throughout the week. I believe you should be choosing one of these. By all means, feel free to hop on more than one, but at least one should be touched on by you. Discussion question 1. In the article, Raymond gives an example of his first experience with the Bazaar approach, a development of a pop mail retrieval service. Are there any times the Cathedral approach may be more desirable to the Bazaar? Question 2. Would you rather be in charge of a software project or one of the developers? What are the advantages and disadvantages of each role? 3. The article talks about Brooks's law. Adding more programmers to a late project makes it later. This was widely held as a truism for several decades. Assuming Raymond's article about the Cathedral and Bazaar is accurate, was Brooks always wrong, or did something change to make it outdated? 4. Are there any examples from this article or others that use the Bazaar approach for software development? What are they, and did that approach work? And 5. Are there any aspects of how to develop an open source project, either from the article or from an outside source, that have not been covered that you would like to bring up? I added this one just as an open-ended. If you have any creative thoughts or anything that comes to mind, please feel free to post it here. This is kind of a miscellaneous catch-all, but I don't want to stifle any ideas that y'all may have in the best sense of the work that we're reviewing anyway. So if you have any ideas, please post them here, and we'll be happy to talk about them.